Because when God does something, it's different from when man does something. Okay? But I want us to understand this. Jesus said, from the beginning, God made them male and female. That response lets us know that if we really want to find out God's plan for relationships, we need to go to the beginning. The beginning of everything. Jesus was making reference to Genesis. I believe that a phrase that gives us a blueprint of what to make any relationship successful is found in the beginning phrase of the beginning verse of the beginning chapter of the beginning book in the Bible. And it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But I want us to focus on these 4 words. In the beginning, God. In the beginning, God. From that point, I want to share with you 7 guidelines that will help you have successful relationships. These are not the only guidelines, but these are fundamental guidelines. These are like God's blueprint for successful relationships. And we're going to derive that from the word in the beginning, God. Point number 1. In the beginning, God lets us know that God was in the beginning. God was in the beginning. Number 1, relationships should be begun by God. So before I get into a relationship with somebody, I need to ask myself this question. Is God in the beginning of this relationship, or am I in the beginning of this relationship? Did God start this thing, or did I start this thing? Is God a part of this, or is God apart from this? Did God initiate this? Did God inspire this? In Genesis 2:18, God said, it's not good for the man to be alone. Adam didn't say that. God said that. And God took it upon himself to set it up. He inspired it. He made it happen. In Genesis 24, verses 1 to 15, we hear of how Abraham got his servant to find a wife for Isaac. So that was interesting. I'm like, I know Abraham is a man of faith. He's kind of like the father of the faith. Why is he getting the servants to go find a wife when he could have prayed to God? Maybe it's because the servant is like the type or symbolic of the Holy Spirit, because the servant's name is Eliezer, which means God of help. And in the New Testament, John 16:13, we know that the Holy Spirit is a helper, comforter. So perhaps God was trying to dramatize the importance of having the Holy Spirit in the process, who guides us into all truth, which must include the truth of whom you're supposed to be in relationship with, which must include the truth of how to have successful relationships. But here's the thing, the guy prayed, the servant prayed, because the Holy Spirit doesn't do anything on his own. He only does what the Father says. So before this guy finds any woman for Isaac, he goes to God first, because he understands that God must begin the relationship. So number 1, relationships should be begun by God.